Big game coming up this Saturday in Annapolis at 3:30. A matchup of unbeatens as Navy plays host to Memphis. Our next guest is off to a great start this season, responsible for 6 touchdowns already in 2 games. He's Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, and he's with us now here on GCR. Blake, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
No, thank you, Glenn. I appreciate being on here. No, I'm excited.
Absolutely, dude. Blake, coming into this season, the taste that you were able to get last year and sort of settling into the role, what did that do for you, and how much confidence did it give you in what you were going to be able to do as the guy coming into this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was those reps last year and just getting the experience against high competition. I got in some games against Memphis last year and against some other teams, and even though I was very green and maybe not fully ready yet, it was just nice to get in there and, just see what the actual game feels like and sort of prepare me for this year when I knew I had the opportunity to be the guy. And that's really helped me out in these first 2 games, just knowing, hey, things may go wrong in the first drive, but to 4-quarter games, you got a lot of time to make it all back.
You mentioned that, right? I think the thing that's jumped out to a lot of people this year is, and I know it's going to sound crazy for the rest of the college football world when I say you've completed 12 passes, and that's a little un-Navy-like, right? How much did you guys know, hey, this might be a little bit different. This might not be exactly what the Navy offense, not to suggest that suddenly you guys are going to be throwing the ball 40 times a game or something like that, but how much of that was the plan coming into the year?
Yeah, I think with our new offensive coordinator, Coach Cronick,
Yep.
he's done a great job at installing a new system and exactly how he wants it, and he's a really innovative play caller, I think. So I think coming into the year, we knew that we had a lot of good weapons on the outside, like Eli Heidenreich, Nathan Kent, an Olympic runner, Brandon Chapman, those guys. So I think we really wanted to be able to get them the ball more in space and in receiving positions. And so I think it's just been really beneficial to us and helped out our run game even more to set up some passes off of runs. And so I think Coach Cronick's done a great job with all of that.
Obviously, you're talking about Drew Cronick, the new offensive coordinator. It's not just the play calling, obviously, that comes along with a new offensive coordinator, but walk me through developing that relationship, right? Somebody that wasn't part of the reason why you committed. How do you go about forming that relationship so that you're comfortable with him and you guys are on the same page going into the season?
Yeah, I think when he came in, he just did a great job at instilling his culture of being a close-knit group and all of that. And he got to know us very quickly and pulled us into position groups to get to know us and just things more about us on a personal level, just sort of what makes us tick. And, he's big on faith, and so he's really, sort of instilled that within our team and, has sort of brought us a lot closer together, I think, as an offensive unit more than anything. And that's a big piece for him, is just being close. And I think he's done a great job with that.
He is Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, and he is with us here on GCR as we get ready for Navy Memphis this Saturday in Annapolis. Blake, I have fun with throwing the ball, right? But how much do you feel like that is adding another element? Look, we know this is still Navy, and you're still going to be running as you have been running the ball plenty. But how much do you feel like it has impacted, like in the Temple game, maybe opponents not knowing what to expect quite as much from this Navy offense?
Yeah, I think what really helped us in the Navy or the Temple game was we ran the ball well in the first half, and then second half I opened up our passing game even more. And then it works inversely too. If we can set up some passes, it slows down the DBs that maybe trying to fill to tackle our run plays and such. And so I think they both sort of complement off each other, especially in our system, where it slows down some of the DBs that may be trying to fill faster on run plays. But then when we do decide to pass it and they're filling hard, then it's very easy to hit a pass over the top.
Blake, if I could go back for a second, because this is the first time you and I had the opportunity to chat. I always love hearing everyone's story about why it is they choose to come to Navy, right? Because it's not quite the same as committing to, if you had gone to Cincinnati or somewhere in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy decision for everybody to make. Can you walk me through what your story was and why it was right for you to end up in Annapolis?
Yeah, my story started a lot later, I'm sure, than a lot of the other guys that were recruited in my class. I was recruited in December of my senior year. So after the first signing date, I believe, Coach Volker, our defensive coordinator, recruits Ohio, where I'm from. So he came to visit me, and I had no idea about the service academies, like most people do. And had no idea what military service would look like afterwards and really what the academy even was. So I was very hesitant at first. Coach Volker came, sort of opened me up to the possibility, and then I told my parents about it. I was like, hey, this Naval Academy is actually a great opportunity. And I think my mom was more skeptical than anything. I don't think with my background, neither of my parents or immediate family was in the military, so they didn't have a great understanding. But I think the coaching staff did a great job at sort of opening that up to us. And then it ultimately came down to, I think, just the prestige of the Naval Academy. It's a great place to get a great education and play some high-level football. And I ran the triple option in high school, funny enough, so I thought it'd be a great fit for me coming in at quarterback, just having that opportunity to at least understand the system a little bit better, maybe than some other guys coming in. But that's sort of what ultimately led me here, just trying to do something different, challenge myself, and just thought the Naval Academy was a great place to be.
The discipline required to handle the schedule at the Naval Academy, particularly as a football player, was that a big adjustment for you? Was that something that you were like, whoo, boy, I knew I was signing up for some, but I didn't know I was signing up for this? Or are you naturally like, hey, I mean, that's the nature of being a quarterback. You got to be ready to go like that.
No, it was definitely a shock at first.
Okay.
It basically feels like you're sprinting at all times to get from class to class, from class to practice, from meetings back to class or a lift. And so it's definitely a busy schedule. And from freshman year to now, you sort of learn how to deal with it better. And so I think that's just been the big thing, is adapting as time goes on and knowing that it's never really going to get easier here. You just sort of learn to handle it better. And so I think it started out, sort of a shock to myself. But since then, like you said, it's just, going with the flow now, knowing that nothing's ever going to go according to plan. And so sort of roll with the punches and then adapt.
Have you already started thinking about like what you might want to, like service wise, what that might look like for you? Or are you still like, hey man, I got some time before I got to worry about that?
I have a little bit less time than maybe I would like, but I'm still looking at maybe being a pilot or even going on a ship. So those two really interest me. Honestly, I met some great people from both communities, whether they're pilot or a surface warfare officer, and I think both have sort of opened me up to the idea of, I'm more excited just to finish up and serve. I don't really care what it is, if it was submarines, pilot, marine, or surface. I'm just excited to lead people, I would say.
That's really cool, man. I like the sounds of that. Blake Horvath, another few minutes with him here on GCR as we're getting ready for Navy Memphis this Saturday. Blake, in that timeline after you committed, right, there was the coaching change. And I'm going to guess because it was Coach Volker that had recruited you, that played a role in why you didn't waver. But can you walk us through why it was that you stayed true to your commitment and wanted to stick it out at Navy despite the coaching change?
Yeah, I think when I initially committed to Navy, committing to Coach Ken was a huge deal. Just his legacy and what he had built at our school, and just he was honestly probably one of the most well-known coaches in America at that point. Besides some of the big names like Nick Saban and such. And so he was just a one-of-a-kind person in how he did everything. So when he ultimately left and that decision was made, it was definitely tough on a lot of guys, and ultimately just never wavered because of the voices in our locker room. We all had faith in what our AD was going to do and who they were going to hire, and we all made a strong push for it to be Coach Newberry. So I think hiring from within was what definitely kept a lot of guys there, because we knew what we had with Coach Newberry and knew that our staff would sort of stay the same and have a lot of carryover. So obviously the head guy left, but we had a lot of faith in the guys that were still there. And so I think we're just excited to, build something new, start anew with Coach Ken leaving.
All right. So you talk about how it is that Coach Ken became known as a legend. Part of that is because regularly Navy was winning games like this one, right? That's coming up on Saturday. That's been the nature of the program, is winning big games and sort of stunning the country and saying, wow, look at Navy. How big of a deal is that? I'm not trying to get too carried away, because I know you guys got to treat everything as one football game, but the opportunity that's in front of you this Saturday to sort of restake the claim of what Navy football is, how meaningful is that as you prepare for this game?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was big of Coach Ken's legacy to win the big games, and he won multiple games against top 25 opponents. But I think it just goes back to sort of instilling that style of play that they ran back then, just being the toughest team on the field and, executing, not turning the ball over, and just, being the best, most disciplined team. And so I think that's what we try to be every weekend. We're trying to reinstill that and make that our culture and sort of get that mantra back. And so I think, like you said, it's a great opportunity this weekend versus a really good team. And, I think we're just excited for the opportunity more than anything.
Do you have to
want to know every week?
Right? Do you have to, as like a leader on the team, be like, okay, but it's still just one game? Do you have to do that? Do you feel like guys getting a little bit more juice? Like you have to almost bring them down a little bit and remind them, hey, it's just a football game?
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to put too much pressure in the preparation, and get guys, putting too much stress on themselves or, playing like outside of themselves. No one has to be a superhero; just have to play within themselves. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just treating it as another game and treating it as, how we treated the Temple game. And the biggest thing we have is just beating the opponent across. It doesn't matter who it is, if it was Army, if it was Air Force, if it was Memphis or Notre Dame, treating them all the same. And, it doesn't matter what they do. It's all about what we do and how we play and how hard we play and how we execute. So I think that's the biggest thing, is always just focusing on us and what we can do to win the game.
Blake Horvath, again, Navy Memphis coming up this Saturday, 3:30 in Annapolis. An awesome chance for everybody to get down and see the midshipmen in a huge, huge game. Blake, can you remind everybody where you're at on social media that Navy fans, folks around this area, can be giving you a follow?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, X now. Those are, I guess, the two main ones. I think it's just like B Horvath 11 or Horvath_Blake on Twitter.
It's B.Horvath11 on Instagram, I believe. Does that sound right?
I think it is. Yeah,
All
I think it's B.Horvath11.
Right.
I think that's it.
Give him a follow there. Blake, it's been awesome seeing how you've settled into this role and what you have brought to this program, and we can't wait to see what's next starting this Saturday. Congratulations on everything so far. Best of luck moving forward. Thank you so much for spending the time with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.